Hello and welcome along to Sports Day. I'm Sarah Mulkerrins. Coming up on the programme, extra... You're very welcome along to the programme this season. Let's start then in Melbourne, as it was a busy and mostly positive day for the British players at the Australian Open. Dan Evans was the only one not to progress in the singles. He was beaten in 4 sets by Lorenzo Sonego on his return from injury, but there were good showings from Cameron Norrie, who had a straight sets victory over Juan Pablo Varillas, and Jack Draper, who battled the heat and sickness to beat Marcos Giron over 5 sets. And then in the women's draw, British #1 Katie Boulter, she was tested, but she came through in straight sets against Yu Yuan. While there was a lot of focus, wasn't there, undoubtedly, on the 2021 US Open champion Emma Raducanu, back in Grand Slam action for the first time in 12 months. And she beat the British men in action. Dan Evans is out, Cameron Norrie, a good win for him. Jack Draper, though, pushed all the way and suffered right at the end. Shocks yesterday in the wider draw, but it seemed much more straightforward for the big names, the likes of Carlos Alcaraz and Iga Swiatek.
Yes.
Thanks to Russell Fuller in Melbourne. Now, Everton manager Sean Dyche believes it isn't fair that his players are punished for the club's financial problems following the news yesterday that they have been charged for breaching the Premier League's profit and sustainability rules, along with Nottingham Forest. It follows the 10-point deduction that Everton have already been given, which they are appealing. These new cases must be heard by the 8th of April, and the managers of both clubs have been speaking ahead of their FA Cup replays tomorrow. Well, the Premier League Chief Executive, Richard Masters, was in front of MPs at the Culture, Media and Sport Committee today, where he said he understood why Everton and Nottingham Forest fans might be frustrated. He also confirmed that a date has been set for the hearing into Manchester City's alleged breaches of financial rules, although he wouldn't reveal that date. Well, earlier the BBC sports editor Dan Rowan was here in studio with me to explain it all. Richard Masters there at the DCMS committee, and the BBC sports editor Dan Rowan explaining all. Now, there are 5 FA Cup third-round replays tonight, and the pick of them is National League side Eastleigh up against League Two's Newport County, as the winners of the tie will travel to Manchester United in the 4th round. An appearance there for either of those two clubs would provide a huge financial boost. And at the Silver Lake Stadium for us ahead of kick-off is our reporter Lewis Coombs. Now, England manager Sarina Wiegman says she is so happy to have the chance to lead the Lionesses through the next 3 years after signing a new contract until 2027. Wiegman started the role in September 2021 before winning the Euros and then reaching last year's World Cup final. The new deal will keep her in charge for the World Cup in 2027, and she's told the BBC that she has unfinished business. Now let's have a quick look at some of the other stories making the headlines today. Jose Mourinho has been to the shock news from rugby union today, as Wales and Gloucester winger Lewis Rees-Zammit is leaving the sport to try his luck in American football. The 22-year-old, who has been capped 32 times by his country, described the decision to join the NFL international player pathway as painstaking, but he aims to secure a place on a team this year. With more on this, here is Patrick Geary. Well, a government spokesperson told the BBC the new minister, Mimi Davies, who was appointed in December, will build upon the government's track record of supporting disabled people and help with tearing down barriers so that every disabled person can realise their potential and thrive. Well, that's about it from us here on Sports Day. Just a reminder of our top story on the programme. It's British success at the Australian Open, as 4 out of 5 Britons in action progressed into the 2nd round in Melbourne, and it was a winning return to Grand Slam tennis as well for Emma Raducanu. We're just hours away from day 4 getting underway. You can, of course, follow that all live on the BBC Sport website and across 5 Live Radio. But for me and the team, have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.